Welcome to Drumbeats, the must-listen-to podcast which explains why Indigenous partnerships are the key to securing successful outcomes in natural resource and infrastructure investment in Canada. I'm Mark McNack and my co-host Robert Branton are joined today by Jake Sinclair, Chief Executive Officer of Cowessess Ventures Limited. We are speaking with Jake at TMX Studios in Toronto, the day before he co-hosts the First Nations Major Project Coalition annual conference. 6 First Nations, a minimum 30% equity stake, a 200 megawatt wind project enough to power more than 100,000 homes, developed in partnership with Enbridge. Jake serves as president of Six Nations Energy Development LP, the consortium created to steward the Indigenous partners' investment in that project, and is one of several running simultaneously across Cowessess' portfolio. Jake brings 15 years of Indigenous economic development experience across renewable energy, agriculture, urban land development, and waste-to-resource processing. In our conversation, you will learn how that Enbridge equity structure was built, understand why Canada's shift away from U.S. trade dependency is opening a direct lane for European institutional capital right now, and hear why Jake believes we are still only at the tip of the iceberg.
Jake Sinclair, the CEO of Cowessess Ventures, the economic development arm of the Cowessess First Nation in Saskatchewan. Welcome to Drumbeats, and thanks for taking time out on what I know is a very busy week for you here in Toronto.
Thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Welcome. Great to have you here. And you're one of the co-hosts for the FNPC conference that we're here, and we're at the TMX. Very grateful for using their studios, but absolutely wonderful to think the day before, or actually the afternoon before it all begins, you're here with us.
And
so we really appreciate that.
Yeah, pretty calm.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 2,000 delegates registered. It's a massive gathering, and many others, Indigenous people and others in Toronto for the event, around the event. How did you get the co-hosting gig?
I really don't know how I was honored to get the privilege, but I think talking at various events and seeing me speak and being able to share some of the stories that we got going on in Treaty 4 drawn a lot of interest, and I was fortunate enough to get the invite. And last year was the first time attending the conference, and I think it's probably my favorite conference to attend out of all the conferences.
Excellent. Well, that's great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, where you grew up, and how you've ended up in the position you are today? Not the FNPC, came after.
Yeah, my background, I grew up in George Gordon First Nation. I am from George Gordon First Nation. It is about an hour north of Regina, located in Treaty 4. I got a business background from the University of Regina, so I got my undergrad and my master's both at the University of Regina. My background is I'm about 15 years into Indigenous economic development, working for George Gordon Developments and Cowessess Ventures. And then on the side on that, I've always been entrepreneurial. So I've managed and run businesses that are different industries. So I've ran fitness centers as well as a golf course and a construction company. And now I'm here full time on being able to give it all my all to Cowessess Ventures.
Right. So you've had that entrepreneurial spirit throughout your life.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you later about the golf course. I'm curious about that. But tell us first about Cowessess Ventures.
Yeah, Cowessess Ventures is the economic development arm for Cowessess First Nation. Cowessess First Nation is the largest nation in Treaty 4 territory. Treaty 4 stretches from Manitoba to all the way to Alberta in the southern part. And so it's quite vast. And Cowessess Ventures has been established in 2018, just kind of separate the business and politics and making sure that there's ongoing dialogue as we have these projects emerging. A lot of potential investors and partners want to make sure that there's ongoing conversations with the ECDEV and not just chief and councils in the event that chief and councils get not reelected or choose not to run again. So it's been established in 2018 and thus far taking on a lot of the economic interest of the nation. And I'll talk a little bit about some of those later on.
And you're structurally set up. Do you have sounds like you do have a bit of separation between council and your company. And sometimes that's important to be able to move with the speed of business.
Yeah.
To have that kind of separation.
We do have a board that is separate from the chief and council. We do have representation from leadership on it, just so that we have the connection back to the community. But we also have elders, and we have an elder and a youth representative. So to make sure that our board, we're also thinking about the future as it relates to our youth, but we're also acknowledging the past as it relates to our elders and taking that wisdom and passing it down. building that capacity within the not only within the nation, but then within our own organization as well.
At the summit for the past couple of years, we've had a great contribution from Saskatchewan. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of resources, but really punching above their weight.
Yeah.
In terms of getting things done and making things happen, and reinforcing that. Can you talk about some of your projects that you have going on at the moment? Some of the ventures that you're involved with.
Yeah, so we have a number of areas on which we're dedicated in. Our economic interests, so Cowessess First Nation, since as early as the 70s, has been involved in economic development, with the Last Oak Golf Course being located on the reserve in the Crooked Lake area. So that's where kind of my expertise in the golf course came in handy, and being able to transfer some of that knowledge and apply it to the nation. And then from there, we started back in 2006, I believe we started the wind project, the initiation of it, and it wasn't executed until 2008, 2007, around that time, with the single turbine for right now it's 1.2 megawatt project, and it's a first of its kind hybrid project. It's wind, solar, and battery.
Can you talk? Our audience might not be familiar too much with why was the project set up there. You've talked about the different sources and technologies being used in a bit more detail.
So yeah, that one is a little more of a testing. So we're seeing a lot of European influence on renewable projects and coming over to Canada, and Saskatchewan is really trying to figure out, where do we sit in all of this? We have this resource of the wind, solar within Treaty 4 territory. We have a vast amount of wind, and as well as a good within the summer array as well. So I believe Weyburn, Saskatchewan is called the sunniest place in North America because it's got captures the most sun. So
really,
yeah, and that project was more or less of a testing ground and a pilot project, and so we just kept on adding onto it. So it started off with the wind turbine study, and then we added the battery in as well, with the solar on there, to make sure to see if we could operate this hybrid facility, and it's been going well thus far.
Excellent.
And so other things that Cowessess Ventures is involved in, so our sustainability arm, we have the 10 megawatt Cowessess solar project, which is right next to our Cowessess wind turbine. It's just right outside the City of Regina. So that's a 10 megawatt project that we're 2 years operational into that project right now. And then last December, we hit COD with our Beckerbar-Yoten project. So it's a 200 megawatt wind project. We're a minority owner in that project as well. And we also announced last June our partnership with Enbridge and 6 other nations that alongside ourselves, including ourselves, to be involved in another 200 megawatt wind project near Weyburn. And so that's our sustainability arm. We have joint ventures, we have partnerships, we have equity owned into some of the businesses. We have a couple Esso gas stations. The Cowessess First Nation as well. The golf course, of which I kind of spoke to, as well as farming some of the land. So Cowessess has over 100,000 acres of land located throughout the prairies. And the intent is to try to farm as much of that as we can for ourselves. And so right now, I believe we're at about 7,000 acres of farming that under Forestry Farm. And yeah, we have other various projects in the queue, land development deals. So we are in the process of urban development right now within Cowessess First Nation. We have various properties in Regina, and as well as Saskatoon and Yorkton. So urban development.
Part of the reserve properties, are you looking at that?
Yeah.
Bought them separately.
So they are part of the reserve, and we want to make sure that we're all working together. And so they set it up, and they guide us to knock it down. And so really holding hands within this transaction. So we have one entity that purchases the land, they vets it, and then us will be going in there to go and develop it and see what the opportunity is there.
And with some of these ventures that you've talked about, you have foreign partners.
Yeah.
You're working with some foreign firms. Can you talk about that and about what their knowledge has been and their process that they've experienced and what you also saw with them coming in? How did that all?
Yeah, the good thing about working with partners is you take some of that experience. When you're trying to join a partnership, we want to make sure that we're joining it for the right reasons, and it really built on trust. And if that trust isn't there, then that partnership is not going to thrive. And so our partnerships that we've formed with foreign entities. There's been a number of them. What I found most successful is that willingness to say that we don't know what the outcome is going to look like at the end of this day, but we want to make sure that we're going to be installing the proper mechanisms to make sure that we could be nimble and we could work together on whatever obstacles that might be in the future. So we've had a number of foreign entities, some of that are UK based. We had one German based company that we're in a partnership with. And I think that there's a lot of respect that goes both ways.
Right. And what do you think was the learning on their side?
The learning,
like, oh, this is different, or
I think one, our climate. So so southern Saskatchewan, we have minus 50 days, minus 40 days.
But the sun is out for the longest time throughout the year, right?
Yeah. And then we also have plus 30 days in the heat, and so sometimes the technology is not applicable where it could be elsewhere, and so trying to find that right technology that's going to work for this project, and so that willingness to go back and forth to consider, reconsider, and figure out what's the path forward together.
Yes. And it's interesting because when you have that extreme of temperature on the prairies, that's really how you stress test different technologies.
Yeah. We have, like I said, our climate is very varied. So last week we had a winter storm, and today I heard that spring has finally sprung, and it's sounding like it's finally started. The snow started to melt back home.
Well, that's good. And here you are in Toronto, of all places.
Yeah.
And missing that transition between the seasons.
Got to get those golf courses open.
Yes, exactly. I heard on the weekend.
Are you noticing, Jake, any an increased interest from foreign investors? You've got some in current projects. Do you know whether they're looking at other things, whether you're hearing of foreign interest? We're certainly seeing it, places like the Summit in London, but it's a consistent story we're hearing that Canada is of interest again to foreign partners and investors.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting times. Like I said in the beginning, I've been involved in Indigenous economic development for or just over 15 years. And each year that progresses, we seem like we are being more involved and more included, and we're taking projects for ourselves by ourselves within the Indigenous communities. And it's attracting outside investors and outside interests. And so I really think that as we progress, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. And I think that we're going to see a lot more interaction between our sovereign nation within our communities, and then as well as with, having partnerships with foreign interests as well. So, I really welcome it. It's really exciting times. And I do think that this is just the tip.
And what do you think about the changes in the leadership? Obviously, Prime Minister Carney has a clear direction. Canada's open for business again. He's been traveling. I heard the number of trips or days out of the country, drumming up business, re-engaging with countries perhaps we haven't engaged with for a long time or never. Some of the countries we all heard about. What's your view of that, or what's your nation's view about what's going on, the opportunities that may present?
Yeah, I do think that as we become less reliant on the United States, it does open the opportunity for other countries to get involved and have a real good think about Canada. Is it worth investing in? I think that Carney's presence in other countries is definitely helping along that journey. And a lot of the policies, we want to make sure that our policies are aligned with some of the actions there, so we could try to have some type of outside investment, but if it doesn't reflect well within working with nations, then we want to make sure that policies are also doing that as well, because we don't want to be painting ourselves into a corner on some type of project. I could get into details on why I'm saying that, but we'll get there when we get there.
Okay. Well, we can get there now.
Let's get there.
Let's come on. That sounds interesting.
So there's a lot of policies that, we have the Canada Infrastructure Bank, we have loan guarantee programs. When you're dealing with outside financial institutions, there's a different due diligence testing that has to be done. And as a result, we have to do different steps that we have to go through. Us as the nation, it comes at our expense as well. So the loan guarantee programs are great. And same with the Canada Infrastructure Bank, all phenomenal programs. But what it does come is it does come with an extra cost of our own extra due diligence. And so making sure that our lawyers are well equipped with those transactions, so they have to be well versed with working with foreign investors, and those foreign investors have to be well versed in jumping through the hoops that we're going through. So when I talk about that partnership and that understanding of some of the things that we have to experience on this side, that they just have to be willing to go through those journeys with us as well.
Right. It's interesting because we've had this conversation a number of times that over the past 30, 40 years before the Constitution came back and the changes, people saw that the Indigenous people, they thought were against development, and they weren't. They were just like, this is our land. We want to be part of the solution. And now there's still a lot to be done, but you are part of the solution. But you, like many others, are saying, government, get out of the way. There's too many regulations.
Yeah.
There's too much bureaucracy. There's too much restrictions. We were fortunate to have Goldie Hyder from the Business Council of Canada over the summit, and he's always fighting on behalf of the business organizations to get rid of the rules and regulations. So Canadian firms, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, can compete more effectively, and you're just reinforcing that these rules are just slowing things down.
Yeah.
And you have the layers, because you have the provincial and the federal layers. Are you starting to see some understanding of the restrictions that is? Are they getting the message?
I think slowly but surely, as we execute more and more projects and we have lessons learned going forward, I do think that it is going to get better. But it does take time. It does take effort as well from the different levels of government and the understanding to work with Indigenous nations. There's good intentions out there, but at the end of the day, how many of those policies are really slowing down progress?
Yes.
Yeah. And you talked about some of the tools, CIB, some of the loan guarantee programs. Saskatchewan has its own, maybe one of the first, although Ontario's been around for a long time, but the Saskatchewan Indigenous Investment Finance Corporation manages that, and you have some experience with that program too.
We have we announced last summer our 7 Stars Wind project with Enbridge, and Saskatchewan, the SIIFC had announced that they would support the Indigenous nations investing with a $100 million loan guarantee. It also comes with its hurdles. It comes with doing the extra due diligence because we as nations and the SIIFC as an entity are still in the infancy. There's a lot of lessons learned. We're still dealing with the SIIFC on another project as well that we just recently announced that we're taking over the food and yard waste bins with the City of Regina. And so we are creating a biochar facility just outside on our Cowessess land to do the intake and then create the output of biochar. And the SIIFC is also involved in that project as well at these early stages. So working through them on various types of projects and different backgrounds of these projects, they have lessons learned that they have to go through as well.
Right. And with the biochar project, why are you involved with that? Is it something that you're going to develop and leverage in different areas across the country, or what was the attractiveness of that opportunity?
That one's been in the works for a number of years now. So when I first started within the organization, our board had given me a mandate to explore different industries and different things to go take a look at. And so we knew that this was going to be coming as an opportunity. We know that we were collecting green bins, but what can we do with the output? And so trying to find a right partner was another challenge, and trying to figure out how do we make this usage on our land? How do we attract some type of investment to our land as well to occupy it? And then what can we do financially? What makes sense financially? And so those are some of the questions that our investment committee and our board had went through, and biochar was one of the ones that came out on top. And so leveraging our relationship with the City of Regina, we have almost a decade-long contract with the City of Regina. And so from there, we also have a secondary phase. I'm hoping, I don't like to say this is our goal. I don't like to try to announce something, but this is our intent. But until that intent comes true, we do have a second phase on what that facility can morph into. And then as well as collecting interest from other RMs or other small cities within the area, within Treaty 4, to make sure that, see if we could do the exact same thing for them on some of their waste as well.
Yes. I bet you get pitched almost daily.
Yes.
With opportunities either to get involved, partner, or take something over. How do you prioritize and screen, and what's your team like?
Yeah, our team. So we build a strong team, and making sure that our team is knowing what the nation wants to do, and everything comes from our shareholders and the people. And our team takes a lot of those pitches and vet them through us, and then we'll have a meeting and try to figure out if it's going to be a potential partner. As we approach partnerships, we kind of approach it as dating. And so you start off on, there's mutual attractionness. We want to make sure that we're working together. And then from there, we will, if we get into a legal obligation, then we become exclusive in dating. And then from there, we got to get the lawyers involved if we're going to go through a joint venture and equity. So then there's our marriage. And so that's how we approach partnerships. And we want to make sure that we're taking our time, because it all comes down to relationships at the end of the day for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
How many, give us a sense of the scale, how many employees do you have in the different companies that you're invested in?
Yeah. So each entity is a little bit different. So our 4C farms, we have the farming a little bit on there. And so the 4C farms, 7,000 acres, they have their own team. We don't necessarily oversee them. We have our gas stations who have 20 employees. Within our admin staff, we have 7 financial people within our admin staff, and then as well as our business development, our operations staff, and then our admin support as well. So we have, I don't even know, because it's always revolving with our gas station operations, our Cowessess project, our Becker Jotun, our 7 Stars is kind of just one person right now, but so we are growing. Right now, we are looking to hire 3 more people. It's an exciting thing to do, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're onboarding the right people as well.
You've mentioned 7 Stars a couple of times. Tell us a bit more about that project and what the status is today.
Yeah, so the 7 Stars Wind Project, I'm fortunate enough to wear 2 hats as well. So I have the privilege and the honor to represent the nations that are involved in that project. So we call ourselves Six Nations Energy Development. And that project has partnership with Cowessess First Nation, Cowessess First Nation, George Gordon First Nation, Pasqua First Nation, White Bear First Nation, the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. So there's the 6 of us at the Indigenous. We have a 30% equity stake in that project. We don't know where we're going to settle on where we want to go on as far as how much north of 30% do we want to go. And as a partnership with Enbridge, it's a 200 megawatt wind project. We are looking to develop just outside north of Weyburn, Saskatchewan. It has its hurdles. Stakeholder people within that residence, they have strong views about wind technology in their backyard. They want to support it, but do they want to see the wind turbines all the time? I'm not too sure. And so it has its own challenges, but it's also at the same time too, it also has its own benefits to the community. I think that community is going to see we're investing millions and millions of dollars into this project. So all of those workers, all those people that are going to be contributing to that economy, I think that economy needs it. And I think they'll be really fortunate and very lucky to have that once it goes to them. Mm-hmm. And the status of it is, we still have a lot of things to jump through, working with Canada Infrastructure Bank, working with SIIFC. Everything is always changing. Everything is ongoing as it relates to tariffs. It relates to, securing our equipment, securing the wind turbines, the cells.
Trying to keep a handle on those. And you mentioned the due diligence, constant exercise of due diligence.
Yeah.
Which fair enough for the CIB and others who are putting up their money. They need to, like any other bank, needs to understand the risk and what that project's going to look like. Like I said, with our partners and as well as with our supporters, and I think I'll call the CIB and the SIIFC supporters, they want to see the project go forward. Our supporters also have to be like our partners and understand that what the deal is going to be like today is not going to be the exact same deal tomorrow, because everything changes as it relates to tolls of the highway, as it relates to transporting some of the turbines, as it relates to, just financing mechanisms, interest rates, as it relates to being able to secure long-term contracts with the suppliers, and then anything tariff related as well. So they have to be along for the ride as well.
Where is most of the wind turbines? Where are they coming from?
So this is a Vestas turbine.
Yes.
So it's a Vestas turbine. Our Becker Jotun was a Nordex turbine. Mm-hmm. The one thing that we get to see in our position is we get to see the different technologies play out and which they're going to be the greatest output in our backyard within southern Saskatchewan. I don't know exactly. I know everything changes, and the workaround to get the Nordex turbines into Saskatchewan to jump through the hoops to make sure that it's most financially available to us as investors. I don't know the whole situation right now on where they're going to be transported to, where they're going to be coming from, as it relates to the tariffs.
Yes, well,
So
they may be
everything
moving
changes.
them from one location. We thought we're nearly done this field south of the border. Where can we move this to? So maybe there's some opportunities as well. But I think what you've touched on is what it's like for Canadian companies at the moment with all of the uncertainty around tariffs, because you just don't know what will happen. Of course, a lot are covered by the existing free trade agreement, but some of these have been superimposed on top. And it's that just uncertainty, because how can you plan for the long term? And I guess that's where we put ourselves at risk, because we're so dependent on the Americans and the American market that, we're trying to find new partnerships, but supply chains, the whole world's changing. At the same time, the Indigenous people finally have this opportunity in front of them, right? So it is really challenging.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging to work through that. And like I said, the understanding, I think because we're in such, I think everything is unprecedented times now. As we came from COVID, and now we have inflation, and now we have different interest rates, and now we have some of the activities going on south of the border. And just with everybody being connected through social media, everything is always changing. And so our partners are feeling the turbulence with us. Mm-hmm. And so there's an understanding there, but there is turbulence all the way around throughout the world as we try to figure out what consistency looks like.
Yes. And, that's a real authentic answer about what it's like to be in business today for anyone because of that uncertainty. So we're here in Toronto, partly because of First Nations Major Project Coalition Conference. And Rob, you were in Toronto, you were in London, came back to Toronto, and now you're in BC and you're coming here. But we're all here in Toronto for this great event that brings together so much of the business community of the Indigenous people. And you're one of the co-hosts of that. So why don't you talk a bit about the vision this year for the summit? When this goes out, it'll be after, but everyone will understand what they've missed and perhaps be able to catch up with some of the people about what happened.
Yeah. So the theme is 7 generations. So when treaties were being reflected upon during the timing of treaties and the signing of the multiple treaties, always thinking about how it's going to impact 7 generations from now. So I'll kind of give you one quick side story, is that why I'm with Cowessess and not my community of George Gordon. I'm a descendant of one of the negotiators at the treaty table, chief. He was the Chief Louis Osoup, was the second chief of Cowessess First Nation. And he's buried on the nation right now. But his contribution to not only First Nation people, but also Canadians as a whole, was making sure that education was part of treaties. And so he was big on advocacy for that. And so that's something that we benefit as all Canadians from treaties, as his advocacy for education, to inserting that into the generic Canadian education system. And so for us right now is, what are we going to do? What choices are we going to make as these projects, and how are they going to impact our descendants 7 generations from now? So that's what the theme is of the conference. And we're going to go through these conflict times, or these contentious issues, and this conference is really a gathering of thought leaders around the whole country, and as well as from outside firms, to see how do we overcome these together, and how are we going to try to benefit our people for the next 7 generations.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's always a good one. And lots happening around Toronto outside of the conference, because it is such a big gathering of people. So can highly recommend it to Indigenous, non-Indigenous business leaders to attend. What's in the water in Saskatchewan, do you think? Because there's so much coming out of good. I went to the University of Saskatchewan for a pre-law course 100 years ago, but so I know a little bit and had some family out there. But there's so many leaders and interesting things coming out of Saskatchewan these days in the Indigenous economy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've been asked that question too. And growing up there, I really don't know, because I only have my Saskatchewan experience. But we have a small population of 1.2 million, and the city of Calgary is larger than the whole population of all of Saskatchewan. But I think it really connects our people to the land, and I think that's what's really driving a lot of our interest in a lot of our economic opportunities, as well as that we have such strong connection to the land. And not to say that nobody else does, but I think there's just more land per person. And so a lot of long-term thinking on how do we try to be stewards of the land while we're here.
Yes. And I think that line about being stewards of the land, that's what everybody wants. But that's also why it takes some time, because you are thinking, where is this going to take us? Because whatever is done will remain for future generations. So we need to do it well, even if it takes a little bit more time up front. But any good investment always takes some good thinking up front to make sure it's sustainable and provides a consistent growing return, hopefully, over time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, whether it's financial outcomes that we're trying to achieve, or we're trying to achieve some type of social outcomes, that thinking on the front end on what this is going to be in the end, it's that almost backwards thinking of what we have to go through. And I think Saskatchewan nations are really good at that as well.
Yes.
And working with other First Nations, other Indigenous communities like in Seven Stars, is that relatively new? And how are you finding that?
I actually, yeah, it's new. I really welcome it a lot. I think when I was a youth, you never heard of those type of things. I just seen this morning that 3 First Nations near the City of Regina are working together on various projects, and they're signing an MOU. There's a lot of it going on where there is, I think I would like to say there's 5 projects that we're involved in right now, actively involved in with other First Nations, and not only nations within Treaty 4, but we've also partnered with nations in Manitoba. We partnered with nations in Alberta, and then as well as even what is partnering with nations south of the border look like. And so we're entertaining those as well. So that's something that I think that is relatively new, and I'm very excited about it. When it comes with working other nations, I understand that they have their interest of their nation members at heart, and so do we when we're trying to go into deals. And so it makes our working relationship very wonderful, I think, because we're trying to do it for the people, and so we never really have to combat against each other. It's more using all of our firepower to making sure that those policies are reflective, and making sure that those policies are not hindering us in our progress forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there anything we haven't touched on, Jake, that you wanted to talk about today?
I can't even think. I feel like my mind is talking. Like we go from land development, we talk about renewable projects, we talk about investment, we talk about partnerships. I don't, probably as soon as I step out, I'm going to be, I should have shared a little bit more about this. And this might speak to a European audience a little bit more, but for us at Cowessess, we're open for business. We have many projects in the go. We have right now, the big exciting thing is we purchased 150 acres of land within City of Regina limits, and so might be one of the largest urban reserves created. And so looking for outside partnerships on that, on what investment looks like, not only to Saskatchewan, but Regina in particular. So very exciting times, and we're open for business, and we're open for partnerships, and as well as working with outside other entities or other countries outside of Canada. So it's very exciting times.
Very exciting. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jake. It's been great to have you with us today on Drumbeats.
And good luck at the conference.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you guys at the conference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you to Jake Sinclair for sharing his insights with us. And thank you for viewing and listening.
Be sure to share, subscribe, and leave a review on your favorite podcast channel. Thanks for listening to Drumbeats. Until next time.